Welcome to our Off My Chest, a place where people share their deepest, often difficult, personal stories. Today, I want to tell you something that has completely shaken my family and me. I'm a 22-year-old woman, the oldest of 4 siblings, 2 younger sisters aged 14 and 10, and a younger brother who just turned 17. We've always had a pretty normal family life. Our parents try their best, and most days are pretty peaceful, if busy. Growing up, I've always felt close to my siblings, especially my little sisters. We shared clothes, stories, and secrets. But recently, something odd started happening at home. Small things began disappearing, things that felt personal and private. At first, it was just a few pairs of underwear missing from my sister's drawers. We thought maybe they misplaced them or left them in the laundry. But the feeling I had deep down was that something was off. I never thought I'd find out the truth, but when I did, it changed everything. I'm sharing this story here because I need to get it off my chest and maybe find some advice or support. It started small. My 14-year-old sister told me she couldn't find a few pairs of her underwear. We joked about it being the laundry monster. But then my youngest sister came to me one day, upset that her favorite underwear had disappeared. At first, I didn't take it seriously. I thought maybe they were just misplaced or mixed up in the washing machine. But over the next few weeks, more underwear started vanishing from both their rooms. I double-checked the laundry baskets and even asked my mom if she had accidentally taken them somewhere. Everyone was confused. My parents said it was probably just kids being messy or losing things, but I wasn't convinced. I kept thinking, who could be taking these? I felt uneasy. It was strange because these weren't just any pieces of clothing. They were personal items that no one outside the family should be touching. My sisters were becoming uncomfortable, and a little scared. They started locking their doors and whispering about the missing underwear whenever our brother was around. At this point, my curiosity turned into suspicion. I didn't want to believe it, but a terrible thought began to form in my mind. I decided I needed to find out the truth for my sister's sake. I began watching more closely, trying to catch any sign of what was happening. It started when I noticed more and more of my underwear going missing. At first, I thought maybe I was just forgetting where I put them, or maybe the laundry got mixed up. But when I asked my sisters and parents, no one knew anything. My suspicion grew day by day. Finally, one afternoon, I decided to check my brother's room while he was out. I wasn't prepared for what I found. Tucked away under his bed was a small, hidden pile of my underwear, along with some of my sister's. My heart stopped. I felt a mixture of shock, disbelief, and disgust wash over me all at once. How long had this been going on? How could he do something so creepy and disrespectful? For a moment, I just stood there, frozen. The reality hit me hard. This wasn't a joke or a misunderstanding. It was real and terrible. I gathered my courage and waited for him to come back, my mind racing with questions I wasn't sure I wanted answers to. When he returned, I confronted him immediately. I held the stash in my hands, voice shaking as I asked why he had them. He looked at me like I was crazy, dismissing it as if it was nothing. His reaction was strange, calm but cold. He didn't seem ashamed or scared. Instead, there was a flicker of irritation, like I was the problem for finding out. That moment was confusing. I wanted to scream, cry, and run away all at once. Anger boiled inside me, but fear wasn't far behind. What if I was wrong? What if I was overreacting? But deep down, I knew I wasn't. Something was very wrong. I also felt betrayed. This was my brother, someone I had trusted and looked up to. Now I didn't know what to think. Could I still trust him? Did I even want to? My mind kept spinning with questions and emotions I couldn't control. I left the room feeling sick and lost. The secret was out, but I had no idea how to handle what came next. The discovery changed everything. Our family wasn't the same anymore, and neither was I. After the shocking discovery, I knew I had to tell my parents and sisters. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I sat them down trying to find the right words without breaking down myself. When I shared what I had found, the room fell silent. The initial reaction was disbelief. My parents just couldn't accept it. My dad kept asking if I was sure, and my mom seemed frozen, like she couldn't process the reality at first. They tried to dismiss it as a misunderstanding or a joke. My sisters, however, looked frightened and confused. They whispered among themselves, not sure whether to cry or run away. The denial from my parents felt like a shield to protect all of us from the truth, but it didn't last long. Eventually, my parents decided they had to confront my brother. I remember the tense conversation. Mom spoke calmly at first, but as the denial continued, her voice grew sharp. Dad tried to keep the peace but was clearly worried. My brother acted defensively, refusing to admit anything, brushing off their concerns like they were overreacting. That confrontation opened a crack in our household. Suspicion and tension hung in the air, turning the once warm home cold. Everyone seemed to watch each other, and trust was shattered. My sisters stopped talking openly. The youngest would avoid eye contact, and the middle one barely came out of her room. It was like a dark cloud had settled over us. Through all this, I felt a heavy weight of responsibility. I was protective of my sisters and angry at my brother, yet also scared of what the future might bring. I wanted to fix things, but didn't know how. Our family, once close, now felt like strangers living under the same roof. The silence was deafening, and every small sound made me jump. The atmosphere was tense and fragile, and I worried that any more bad news could break us completely. The situation grew more serious as my parents confronted my brother again, this time with less patience. They laid out the evidence, the fear in their voices clear. My brother's defenses finally cracked, and he admitted to some of what had happened, but not everything. His confession was half-hearted, filled with excuses and attempts to minimize the damage. He said it was a phase, that he didn't mean any harm, and claimed he never intended to hurt anyone. His words were empty and hurtful. The family's trust was shattered. My parents were heartbroken, struggling to accept that the boy they raised could do such things. My sister's fear deepened, and I saw how fragile we all were. The emotional wounds ran deep. Even then, there were hints that this might be worse than we knew. My brother avoided answering certain questions, changed the subject quickly, and sometimes looked guilty but silent. It left us wondering if there were more secrets he wasn't telling. The suspense was unbearable. Our family started to unravel. Mom cried silently in her room. Dad tried to hold it together but snapped at times. My sisters clung to me for comfort, and I felt the crushing weight of needing to be strong for them all. This was no longer just about stolen items. It was about betrayal, broken trust, and a family struggling to survive a painful truth. We all knew the road ahead would be difficult, and there was no clear way to fix what was broken. The worst felt like it was still waiting to be revealed. The days after the discovery were some of the hardest for everyone in our family. My younger sisters, especially, were deeply affected. The youngest became quiet and withdrawn, no longer eager to talk or play like she used to. The middle sister was angry and confused. She kept asking why her own brother would do something so wrong in invading their privacy in such a disturbing way. Their fear was clear in the way they locked their bedroom doors and flinched at any sudden noise. For me, the emotions were tangled and overwhelming. I felt betrayed by someone I had loved and trusted all my life. At the same time, I felt guilty for not noticing sooner and for the role I played in keeping the family together despite the growing tension. I struggled with wanting to protect my sisters but also feeling a strange loyalty to my brother, who had become someone I barely recognized. It was like my mind was split into opposing sides, unsure which to listen to. My parents were also struggling. They argued more than ever, Mom blaming Dad for not seeing the signs, Dad frustrated with how to handle the situation. Yet through the fights, there was an unspoken effort to hold the family together, to shield the girls and keep some normalcy alive. But the tension was thick, and peace felt fragile and temporary. Every day, the future seemed more uncertain. We didn't know if my brother would change, if he would face real consequences, or how the community would respond if they found out. The fear of what was to come weighed heavily on all of us. It felt like we were walking a tightrope, one wrong move away from everything falling apart on the quiet moments. I found myself wondering what had caused my brother to behave this way. Was it a secret struggle, a deep loneliness, something darker I had missed? The questions were painful but necessary. Understanding didn't mean forgiving, not yet, but it was part of trying to make sense of the chaos. The emotional fallout was ongoing, and I knew this was just the beginning of a long road ahead for my sisters, my parents and me. After the shocking discovery, our family was thrown into a whirlwind of emotions and uncertainty about what to do next. The hardest conversation was deciding whether to involve the police. On one hand, it felt like the right thing to do to protect my sisters and stop any further harm. On the other hand, I worried about the damage to our family's privacy and reputation. We live in a small village where news spreads fast, and I dreaded the thought of everyone knowing our darkest secret. My parents were divided. Mom was reluctant to call the police, hoping this could be resolved quietly within the family. She feared the shame and stigma that would come with public knowledge of what my brother had done. Dad, however, was more practical and insisted that we needed professional help and legal intervention to keep everyone safe and hold my brother accountable. I felt torn between protecting my brother as my family and protecting my sisters and myself. I kept thinking about how this would affect all of us, not just now but for years to come. The emotional weight was crushing, but I knew action was necessary. Eventually, we agreed on a middle ground. We started with counseling for everyone, under therapy for my sisters, family therapy for us, and professional help for my brother. At the same time, my parents decided it was safest for him to move out temporarily, giving us space to heal and preventing any further harm at home. The tension remained thick. None of us knew what the future held for my brother, whether he would face legal charges or just the consequences within the family. His fate felt like a dark cloud hanging over us all. Every day brought new fears and unanswered questions. Despite the fear and confusion, taking these steps felt like progress. We were no longer pretending nothing had happened. We were facing reality, however painful, and trying to find a way forward. It was far from easy, and the path was uncertain. But it was the first step toward healing. Since the family made the tough decisions, things have slowly been changing, but not without struggles. My brother's reactions have been confusing at times. At first, he denied everything, refusing to talk about what happened. But recently he started to apologize, though it felt half-hearted and sometimes like he was just trying to ease the pressure. It's hard to tell if he truly understands the damage he caused or if he's just scared of the consequences. My sisters have been having good days and bad days. The youngest still flinches when my brother's name is mentioned, but she's slowly starting to smile again, especially during therapy sessions. The older one is more guarded, often shutting down when the topic comes up, but I see moments when she lets her guard down and talks about her feelings. Healing feels slow and fragile, but it's happening. Our family is trying to rebuild trust, though it's a delicate process. Mom and Dad are attending counseling together, hoping to stay united for the kids. I'm doing my best to be a strong sister and protector, even when I'm overwhelmed. We're setting boundaries and trying to communicate better, but the scars are deep. Personally, I still wrestle with mixed emotions, anger, sadness, guilt. This ordeal has changed me, opened my eyes to painful realities, and forced me to grow up faster than I expected. I don't know what the future holds, but I know we'll keep fighting to heal. The challenges aren't over, and I expect more difficult days ahead. But sharing this has helped me find strength, and maybe it will for others too. This experience has taught me more than I ever wanted to know about trust, family, and resilience. I learned that betrayal can come from the people closest to us, and it can shatter the sense of safety we once took for granted. But I also learned that healing is possible, even when the wounds run deep. For anyone else facing similar pain, my message is this: don't stay silent. Speak up, seek help, and protect those who can't protect themselves. It's not easy, and it might feel like you're breaking your family apart, but sometimes confronting the truth is the first step toward rebuilding something stronger. Though the pain lingers, I hold on to cautious hope. Hope that my sisters will heal fully, that my family will find peace, and that my brother will take responsibility and change. Life will never be the same, but maybe it can be better in some ways. Thank you for listening to my story. It's not the one I wanted to tell, but it's the one I need to share.